Before I begin my argument, I would like to reiterate that I prefer Z and Zir pronouns since my opponent used the wrong pronouns for me. My opponent describes marriage as the fundamental rights extended to heterosexual people. However, I believe that the right to feel safe in one's place of employment and education are far more fundamental than the right to marry. While LGBT people should have the rights that come with same-sex marriage, such as healthcare benefits, same-sex marriage still privileges only those who fit the government's definition of a family. Same-sex marriage perpetuates the image of two monogamous partners being the only legitimate way to raise a child or children, despite the wide diversity of types of families and partnerships. A redefinition of marriage to include same-sex couples will still leave out families who don't fit these narrow guidelines, such as families who have more than two parents, people who choose to raise children alone, people who are in partnerships they do not define as romantic, etc. My opponent also states that Brown v. Board was a landmark Supreme Court case that benefited the entire civil rights movement, and that the legalization of same-sex marriage could bring the same social momentum and thus social change. However, the legalization of same-sex marriage will not benefit the entire LGBT community from a social aspect. While transgender people will receive the rights that come with marriage, they will not be recognized because society views same-sex marriage as a gay issue. There will be no increased education or visibility of transgender people. Same-sex marriage cannot be the Brown versus Board of the LGBT movement without abandoning the transgender community. For transgender people, issues such as access to healthcare, housing, and job opportunities are more important. However, in any state where same-sex marriage has been legalized, the media has only focused on the marriage of gay couples, and there is no indication that this trend will change anytime soon to include transgender people. My opponent argues that bullying and job discrimination are not the most visible issues of the LGBT community, but they should be. The movement against bullying has become increasingly visible in the last few years. In reaction to the deaths of LGBT teens, such as Tyler Clementi, strong anti-bullying laws are already being implemented. It is prudent that LGBT youth are protected from hate, and an anti-bullying movement would do this by spreading education about lesbian, bi, gay, and transgender youth, and punishing those who perpetuate hate. Focusing on the younger generation both provides a support system for LGBT youth and educates non-LGBT youth to be allies. Less visible is job discrimination, but it is equally important in order to protect older generations of LGBT people. This is especially important for transgender people, 15% of whom live in poverty, which is twice the national average, and 97% of whom have experienced discrimination in the workplace, according to the National Transgender Discrimination Survey. It is more important to get LGBT people out of poverty, to protect them from discrimination, and to protect LGBT youth than it is to fight for marriage rights that are still alienating and non-inclusive.